Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
This is True Crimecast. Jamie, as always, with John. What's up?
Dude, not a whole lot. How you doing, man?
I, honest to goodness, feel like it's been forever since we did an episode of True Crimecast.
I don't remember.
We got ahead before I started my new job, and now we're behind.
I don't remember when that was.
It was a very long time ago. It's been weeks, so excited to get back in the saddle. You know what I mean?
Well, you have brought us a terrific case today, and it's one that you've had like researched and written up for a long time, but we had to wait on the trial to wrap up before we would ever present it. So that's happened, and that's the case we're going to be doing today.
Yeah. So the premise is dad dies, mom writes children's book to help kids cope with dad's death. Oh, wait, did mom kill him?
Yeah.
So that was the headline, not the headline, but kind of the general story that grabbed my attention.
This is just such a special episode because, one, it's one that we've been just like eagerly awaiting the outcome of the trial. But we also have a guest who is going to appear today, Jules, our friend and longtime like podcast peer. She's going to be reading some of that book for us today.
She is very grateful to her. From Fire Eyes Media, her podcasts are Missing in Hushtown and Secrets Beyond the Sacramento River, and she's in charge of a collaboration that we've been on, the You Should Be Here series that I think we've done 2 years in a row. So
I think that's right.
She does a lot of good and for all the right reasons. So if you don't know Jules, go check her out over on Instagram. You can find her there and all of her information at your host Jules, YOURHOST JULES.
Thank you again, Jules. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to two new Patreon members, Karen and Melissa. Thank you each for joining us on Patreon. Guys, if you haven't yet joined, we have bonus episodes each and every month. One that will come out this week, so be on the lookout for it. And I'm just excited for everything we got going on over there. Not only do we release a bonus episode, but you get all of our other content early. I will say early as possible and ad free. Jamie posted a video over there last week apologizing for not getting stuff out early enough. But you know what? It's still technically early.
It was early. And we put some random videos, funny stuff that we get to do that we don't usually include that goes straight to Patreon. So
last month I tried to, I did write up a story. We tried to record it. And for the first time in 8 years, we got about 3 minutes into a show and had to turn it off. It was too much.
Made it 3 minutes.
It was too much, and it turned into something hilarious. So go check that out. You only get that content if you join Patreon.
But today's case is for everybody, and I know a lot of people have been following this trial. It just wrapped up. Sentencing hasn't happened yet, so we will have updates. But yeah, man, let's jump in, get us rolling.
We're going to go back to March 4th, 2022. It's early in the morning, 3:21 a.m., and Kouri Richins has called 911 because her husband was found unresponsive. So let's back up a little bit. Earlier that evening, Kouri and her husband, Eric, were celebrating the closing of a home sold by Kouri. So they finished up their Moscow mules. I would assume that's a drink.
It is a drink, indeed.
Never had one. They finished those up and then they went to bed. And around 3 a.m., one of the couple's sons came into their room after he had had a nightmare, and Kouri took him back to bed. She claims that when she got back to their room, she found her husband not breathing. So again, she called 911. Emergency technicians arrive at the scene, but Eric is pronounced dead at the scene later that morning at 4:58 a.m. Dude, he was only 39 years old.
39 years old. He was in good physical condition, no known health concerns. You can find the 911 call. We've got some other special audio we're going to play, so we're not going to do the 911 call. Honestly, it's about what I would expect somebody to sound like. She talks about the the body already being cold when she discovered him, and it's pretty traumatic to hear. Before he died, Eric and Kouri had lived in the small mountain town in Kamas, Utah, about 40 miles east of Salt Lake City. They met each other in 2009 at a local Home Depot where Kouri worked as a cashier. Eric worked in construction and was frequently in and out of that Home Depot, and seeing her regularly eventually decided to ask her out. A friend heard that Eric had wanted to get her number for a while, but he was afraid. Pretty common thing. To help out, the friend ran inside and got Kouri's number for Eric, and they immediately hit it off once they started going out. They were married in 2013, went on to have 3 sons, Carter, Ashton, and Weston. And these boys were boys. They were huge fans of their dad. He was their role model. He was their guy. And John, you and I both have sons, and that bond is certainly a very special one. And it's tragic what they had to go through. Eventually, Eric would start a stonemasonry business, and Kouri started her own real estate company where she flipped houses. The family was really close. They traveled a lot together. Nobody really heard a lot from the family as far as things going poorly or people being in trouble or the marriage being in trouble, at least until right up before this incident happens. But at the time of Eric's death, the sons were 9, 7, and 5.
We'll get into some of the details that surrounded his death and the autopsy results, but before we do that, a year after he had died, Kouri self-published a book called Are You With Me? So this was a children's book described as being written by a mother who personally faced the challenge of losing a husband and then the children losing a father. And this book is designed to offer comfort and solace to young minds. She would say that the nighttime of their family, like after he had passed, was the hardest for the kids. So she wanted a book to read to them to just give them some comfort. And she looked around various places, could never find anything. So she decided to write the book with her boys to help them all process the loss of their dads. She told NPR station KPCW that writing the book brought a little bit of peace to her and the boys. She said that it was a really good distraction from the previous year, going through the first holidays without her husband, his birthday, and then their anniversary, all of those things. The book gave them a little something to look forward to. Kouri dedicated the book to her husband, calling him, quote, "my amazing husband and a wonderful father," end quote. So now let's hear some of the book that was read by our friend Jules.
The following is a transcription of the book read aloud from the sources Are You With Me? By Kouri Richins, dedicated to my amazing husband and wonderful father, always on our minds, forever in our hearts, Weston, Carter, Eric, Kouri, Ashton, and Harley. Are you in the clouds when I look up to see you? To tell you about my day, ask about yours, and tell you that I love you? Are you at my soccer game when I scored that goal for you? I looked for you in the crowd, but you weren't there. Did you see it? Are you there with me on my birthday to blow out my candles, to celebrate another year and watch me grow, teach me new things, and watch me make mistakes? Are you with me on my first day of school when I'm scared, nervous, and have the butterflies? Will I make friends? Will the teachers be kind? Will you walk the halls with me that day? Are you with me on Christmas when Santa delivers my presents, when I rip through them as fast as I can because I can't wait to see what's next? Did you see what I got from Santa? Are you with me when I'm sad because I miss you? When I'm thinking about you and wondering what we would be playing today if you were here? Are you with me when I'm happy when something exciting has happened? Can you see me smiling and my heart so full? Are you happy with me? Are you with me when I'm in danger and scared, when my palms are sweaty, my heart rapidly beating, and I need you? Are you there with me to make sure I'm safe? Yes, I am with you. I am with you to listen about your day and tell you about mine. I sit next to you while you talk, with my arm around your shoulder and my head on your head while we talk together. I am with you when you scored that goal for me. You couldn't hear me cheer for you, but I yelled and clapped as loud as I could, just like always. Yes, I am with you while you blow out your candles for yet another birthday. Although I'll miss the upcoming years, I stand hand in hand with you, walking with you, helping you, and praising you. I will watch you grow into a fine young man. Yes, I am with you as you walk the halls of the new school, making new friends, meeting new teachers. I will sit at your desk next to you, teaching you, pushing you to try harder, and giving you my love when you succeed. Yes, I am with you on Christmas. I'm in my Christmas pajamas drinking hot chocolate, and I have the glow in my eyes watching you open your gifts. You can't see my smile, but it's there. I'm here, and we're together. Yes, I am with you when you are feeling sad, when your eyes are full of tears, your heart is empty, and you miss me. I am wiping away the hurt, holding you in my arms and telling you I love you. I am here with you. Yes, I am with you when you are happy and when you were so excited that your heart could burst. I am next to you, smiling, proud, and holding your hand. You can't hear me whisper, but I do tell you that I love you. I am with you when you are scared. I am holding on to you to give you the courage to stay strong and brave. I hold you to make sure you're not alone and to remind you everything will be okay. I hear you when you speak to me and ask me how I am and to tell me you love me. I watch down over you, embrace you, feel you, hear you. I gently reply, I love you too. I am here with you every day, every minute, every second. Although you cannot see me, I am there. It's me in the wind. I'm the chill you feel. It's me. The feeling as if someone's with you. I will forever love you, my sweet baby, until we see each other again. Yes, I am with you.
John, I remember the time I spent reading books when they were small. They don't let me as much anymore. It's weird, right? Teenagers. But that's such an intimate, emotional time that you're spending with your child, looking at this book, you, them, and the words. And these words that were written supposedly by Kouri for her sons, they're like, it's a really powerful notion, right?
It really is. And I think you all just need to put a pin in that and let's continue. And then maybe we can circle back to that at the end.
Before the book, and about a month after Eric's death, results came from an autopsy because, again, this is a young 39-year-old healthy man. What killed him? Well, the results showed that he had 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in his system. His cause of death was an overdose of that drug. When Kouri was given this information, she seemed shocked. She told investigators she believed that maybe Eric had consumed a fentanyl-laced gummy, even though Eric was not known to be a drug user, which is a big point of contention in the trial. Authorities were immediately seeing holes in Kouri's story. The first suspect is always the spouse, the significant other, and that's who they're going to look at here. For one, she told them that she had left her phone charging in her bedroom when she went to comfort her son. But phone data showed that she had opened her phone, sent and deleted some messages during that time.
Again, this is 3:00 in the morning. That's a lot to be doing on your phone when you should be sleeping. I don't send text messages at 3:00 in the morning and then immediately delete them. That's just a lot.
Yeah, she's at this time younger than us, but I definitely, if I think enough to send a text message, I'm not going back to sleep. So I have to consciously be like, don't do anything.
If you ever send me one that late, I'm going to murder you.
I get it. We'll cover it on the podcast after you do.
I sure will.
You and my ghost. So this, of course, raised more red flags and prompted a search of the Richins home, where investigators found a second iPhone in Kouri's bedside drawer. So you have this tragic death of this guy. They do an autopsy, and then all of a sudden, it seems like nothing's adding up and everything starts to unravel.
I think with all these red flags popping up and just the inconsistencies in her story, police need to get a better idea of what's going on in the house. So they start talking to folks. Friends of this family eventually came forward to say that the seemingly perfect marriage was actually very troubled right before Eric had died. One friend said that Kouri was unhappy in her marriage, and another was saying that she was worried about how she would survive financially if she and her husband divorced. It's an interesting side note, Jamie. This was a pretty well-off couple. I think they made really good money. But his mom, so her mother-in-law, made Kouri sign a prenuptial agreement so she would not get a lot of the money that he had brought into the marriage. And so, yeah, that's why she was worried about not being able to financially make it. Allison Wright's husband was Eric's business partner, and she said the families took a trip together in February 2019. During that trip, Allison said Kouri told her that she felt trapped in her marriage because of the prenuptial agreement that the couple had signed. She said Eric would be financially secure, and her quite the opposite. She feared what would happen in the divorce. She mentioned maybe the kids would prefer him with the lifestyle that they would have, where she would have much less, and she feared how she would be represented by him in the community. And Allison said that she felt for her. She said that it was a hard conversation to have. Another friend, Becky Lloyd, also said that Kouri confided that she felt stuck in her marriage. Becky would go on to say that Kouri admitted that she was worried about her kids. She was worried about going to have to lose them, and that Eric was going to take the kids from her because his family, had some influence, had some money, and that he was going to turn the community against her, and that she had said that in many ways it would be better if he were dead. End quote. Why does it always go to that? We could just get divorced and part our own ways, and even if there are some financial troubles, I'm going to come out on the other side. But nope, it's just the thought of, we're going to be better off if you just die.
Yeah, that's a next step that I can't get to logically, but a lot of the cases we cover seem to go that direction. When we get back from the break, we'll talk about the financial complications that may have played a big role in potential motive. When Kouri started her real estate business in 2019, she took out a $250,000 home equity line of credit on Eric's house. Now, they're married. Why do I say Eric's house? With the prenup, it was in his name.
That's
his
a
house.
lot of money for a line of credit. So this house must be a very extravagant, very, very valuable home.
Right. 5 years later, it wouldn't be because house prices went nuts after 2020, but I digress. Eric didn't find out about this until about a year later when he came across it during a visit to the bank. He claimed that he didn't sign any documents approving that line of credit, and handwriting experts eventually showed that there was a strong possibility that Kouri had forged her husband's signature. John, I recently did some finance changes and got a new mortgage on my home, better rates, that whole kind of thing. My bank would not have allowed, we had to be there with ID.
And a notary.
Yeah. There has to be a lot going on to do this. So I don't know how she got away with this. Then we get to October of 2020. Eric told an estate planner that he wanted to protect himself from recently discovered and ongoing abuse and misuse of his finances. So not only is he frustrated about that line of credit, because that's a lot of money, but he's also worried that some more things may be going on. The next month, he removed Kouri as the beneficiary of his $500,000 life insurance policy, which is, to me, that speaks volumes because you just don't hear that a lot. You don't hear that somebody is taking their spouse off of this unless they're moving toward divorce. It seems like a big deal, right?
Yeah. And I mean, golly, even if you're getting divorced, wouldn't you assume that your ex-wife is going to be raising your children, and maybe instead of canceling that, just maybe that's what he did. Maybe he put it in a trust for the kids so that it wouldn't be in her name.
Right. He took her name off of it, and then he went and transferred his home and company to a trust. If something happened to him, a trust that would be managed by his sister. So he obviously has lost a lot of trust in Kouri and the way that she's handling the family finances.
And you know what? I mean, I think that's a wise move. If you can't trust your wife to not do these kinds of things, you don't need to leave them $500,000. That needs to be going to your kids in some way, and the trust is the best way to make sure that happens.
If you have a lack of trust, maybe you don't need to leave them money, but you need to leave them.
Yes, period. In June 2021, Kouri submitted a false bank statement using balance and transaction details from her husband's company in order to qualify for another loan. Now, thankfully, a bank representative flagged that her credit appeared lower than expected, and Kouri would go on to explain that she was in the process of separation from her husband, and that's why her credit score was lower. In January 2022, 2 months before Eric's death, Kouri applied for a life insurance policy for Eric and named herself as the beneficiary. Investigators discovered Eric had no affiliation with this account, and his signature was likely forged. Wouldn't you, after the first time, think, you know what, I can't sign his name? Or at least maybe just try better.
Right. Well, last time she got caught because he caught her. Maybe she already planned on him not being there to catch her.
Yeah. By March 2022, Kouri's finances were out of control. Her bank accounts were exhausted, and she was $3.1 million in debt. So at the time of his death, however, Eric was worth approximately $5 million. Kouri had opened life insurance policies totaling nearly $2 million, allegedly thinking that she would also inherit his estate and her debts could be covered. What she did not know is that Eric had already transferred most of his estate to his sister and in the trust as well.
Yeah, so he's already moved things around. She's not aware of how bad things are, maybe. Maybe she doesn't know how much this has upset him. We really don't know a ton about their conversations about this, but things aren't good. So let's fast forward to Valentine's Day of 2022, 1 month before his death, and Eric told a close friend that he thought his wife had tried to poison him. He said that morning, Kouri had brought him a sandwich from a local restaurant with a Valentine's note on it, and soon after eating it, he broke out into hives and felt like he was going to die. Eric didn't have any food allergies that he was aware of, so there really wasn't a good explanation for why this made him sick. He drank a bottle of Benadryl, and he used one of his son's EpiPens to relieve the symptoms. John, I'm going to have to be in bad shape before I stab myself with an EpiPen.
I mean, you must literally think you're about to die, that your airway has closed off and you're not going to make it if you don't take some action here.
So, of course, with the Benadryl, he fell into a deep sleep. When he woke up, he called his friend to say, hey, I think I've been poisoned. There's no other reason why I should be feeling this way. So police, throughout their investigation, because they are investigating this as a homicide once they found the fentanyl, all of this led to her arrest on May 8th of 2023, just a few months after the release of her children's book. And she went on a national media tour. You can find clips of her on some pretty big daytime talk shows talking about this book, and within months, she was behind bars. She was charged with aggravated murder, 1 count of attempted aggravated murder, which was for the first poisoning attempt, 2 counts of insurance fraud, and 1 count of forgery. In a separate case, she was charged with 5 counts of mortgage fraud, 5 counts of forgery, 7 counts of issuing a bad check, 7 counts of money laundering, and 1 count of communications fraud, to go with 1 count of, and this is a quote, a pattern of unlawful activity. I just listed like 30 charges. I'd say that's a pattern.
I would absolutely agree. So as her trial grew closer in 2025, her lawyers said in a statement that she is a mother who wants to go home to her children. They also said that, quote, Kouri has waited nearly 3 years for this moment, the opportunity to have the facts of this case heard by a jury, free from the prosecution's narrative that has dominated headlines since her arrest. What the public has been told bears little resemblance to the truth. We welcome the courtroom where evidence is bound by rules and not sensational coverage, end quote. So the prosecution began by arguing that Kouri slipped 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl into the cocktail that she made for her husband the night in March of 2022. The lead prosecutor said from that moment on, Kouri began crafting an alibi. So he referred to the 911 call, and he said that the first minute is not the sound of a wife becoming a widow. It is the sound of a wife becoming a black widow, end quote. The prosecutor, I love everything he's had to say so far, and we'll have to talk later on if we agree with what he's saying.
Well, the defense tried to get the entire trial thrown out because of this comment, because they thought it was too inflammatory and there was no basis for it. But he did a really good job. The prosecution had a forensic accountant walk the jury through all the financial records that showed that Kouri was drowning in debt herself, and her husband was doing pretty well. She had borrowed millions to support her real estate business. In just 3 months, she had spent $1.3 million in life insurance payments.
That is a lot.
That's got to be
so much
good insurance.
My God. I pay like $20 a month
a year
for good insurance.
Right?
Term insurance. That's where it's at, people.
The prosecutor said she wanted to leave Eric, but did not want to leave his money. Not only was she planning to inherit her husband's estate to get herself out of debt, she was also planning a future with another man.
Okay.
Enter Robert Josh Grossman, who was Kouri's love interest outside of her marriage. And I encourage you, go look at Josh Grossman's testimony if you haven't already. She allegedly went to see him the night on Valentine's Day right after she dropped off the poison sandwich to her husband, as one does.
Yeah, okay.
Prosecutors would call Grossman to the stand. The 43-year-old held back tears while he read text messages between him and Kouri. He said the relationship became romantic in early 2020 while he stayed in one of their homes, one of the ones that Kouri was flipping there in Utah, and said that Kouri had given him money at some point and bought a truck for him. So she had given, he's part of her debt, I guess.
He is the handyman that she's hired. So it's like a quintessential love story. You fall for the handyman.
And while you're killing your husband.
Yeah, apparently. So the text messages talked about their future together. Kouri fantasized about leaving her husband and gaining millions in a divorce. In one text message, Kouri asked Robert if he would marry her if she was divorced. And Robert replied, yes, he was in love with Kouri. The prosecution asked him about a conversation that happened 2 weeks after Eric's death, where Kouri asked Robert, who was a military veteran, if he had ever killed anyone. It's a random text message, I would think. She wanted to know how it made him feel. Robert got very emotional on the stand and told the jury about the guilt and sorrow he felt about the affair. I often say to my children that you're not sorry that you did these things. You're sorry that you got caught. And I think that's what happened here. I think that's where his guilt comes from.
Right.
At one point, he was wiping away so many tears that the judge had to call for a recess. Robert said the affair with Kouri ended a few months after Eric died.
Yeah, and certainly cheating on your spouse while buying life insurance for them is not a good look in the eyes of law enforcement or prosecutors. The messages found on Kouri's phone led to another key witness for the prosecution, Carmen Lauber, who worked as a housekeeper for the Richins, and she testified under immunity for her cooperation, which they had to disclose as part of their agreements with her testifying. They had to let the jury know she was getting something from this. that she had given Kouri illicit drugs on 4 different occasions between December 2021 and March 2022. Carmen said Kouri had asked her to get pain pills for one of her investors and gave her $600 for them. She said a few days before Valentine's Day, Kouri asked Carmen for more drugs, but this time she asked for something stronger. And this is a quote from Kouri, according to Carmen on the stand. She said, "I need you to get me the Michael Jackson stuff," which is referring to fentanyl, which is the drug that killed Michael Jackson.
I actually think, that was propofol. It was kind of like fentanyl, but yeah, it was a different one, but still very, very harsh.
Wow, John, you seem to know a lot about drugs. I'm just kidding. Carmen said that she got 20 pills from a drug dealer that she named, with $1,000 given to her by Kouri. Kouri asked for pills one more time for another $1,000 payday soon after Valentine's Day. After Eric had died, Carmen spoke with Kouri over the phone and said, "Please tell me that these pills were not for Eric." And Kouri told Carmen that Eric died of a brain aneurysm and it had nothing to do with any medication. When Carmen learned the truth, she knew that she had to come forward and tell police what she knew and what she had done, because she believed she played an active role in, even unknowingly, in Eric's death.
Digital forensics also were presented in trial, and the messages between Carmen and Kouri from early 2022 were deleted from both of her phones, but investigators were able to recover something else that was suspicious. On that second iPhone that Kouri started using in April of 2022, this was just under a year before her husband died, investigators found online searches that read the following, quote, "What is a lethal dose of fentanyl? How long do life insurance companies take to pay? Luxury prisons for the rich of America. If someone is poisoned, what does it go down on the death certificate as? What happens to deleted messages? How do police and forensic analysts recover deleted data from phones? And signs of being under federal investigation."
What not to Google if you're under investigation,
Why doesn't she
Alex?
just write a note that says, "Hey, y'all, I'm guilty," because these are basically summarizing that. She had also read an article titled, "Cause of Death Usually Does Not Impact Life Insurance Payment."
Yeah.
But yeah, so
That's a lot.
I mean, I would just imagine how nervous she would be in court when hearing these searches that were read from her phone. Like, I think if it's me, I'm just like, is the Alfred plea, is it too late for that?
Is it? Obviously our Google search history is probably wild because of doing this, but how do people not know that that can be found?
Yeah, it baffles me, brother.
So the defense team says they had planned on letting Kouri testify, but when it came time to present their case, they say that they felt the prosecution hadn't done enough to convict Kouri and show that she killed her husband, and that Kouri's testimony would no longer be necessary. The defense argued that Eric suffered from pain and could have brought those drugs home from a recent trip to Mexico. Kouri's attorneys also acknowledged that Kouri's business was struggling, but she was married to a guy making 6 figures, so he was worth more alive to her than dead. As for the Valentine's Day incident, the defense argued that it was an allergic reaction to something he didn't know he was allergic to. They also pointed out there was zero evidence to show that Eric had ingested that lethal dose of fentanyl in March of 2022. They never did analysis on the cup that they drank from, and there was no proof that that's where his poison came from. The defense attacked the credibility of all the witnesses the prosecution brought up, the guy that Kouri was cheating with. They really tried to bury Carmen, who had a criminal past of her own, and the fact that she was getting immunity. They went really hard on these witnesses for the prosecution. They claimed the affair was the only reason Kouri had deleted any messages from her phone, and that necessarily was not a motive for murder, and that is why she was so awkward about a lot of things, because she was hiding an affair. The defense also reminded the jury that while it was possible that Kouri had forged her husband's signature on the documents, there was no real evidence to show that she did. There was some analysis to suggest she did. That's not 100%. And there was no video of her signing the papers or anything like that. The defense attorney said they don't have the evidence that Kouri Richins killed her husband. So instead, they tried to show you as much evidence as they possibly could to convince you that she's the sort of person that would do something like that. And in some ways, they're right. There was no smoking gun. We didn't find fentanyl in Kouri's pockets. But I have to talk about the defense a little bit more. I watch more of this trial than I do most, probably since the Karen Reed trial, the only one I've really taken time to watch. And these defense attorneys, John, just seemed completely inept. They spent so much time arguing with the judge, who at one point I think got out crayons to try to explain something to him. They were really bad. And not only did they not call Kouri as a witness, they called 0 witnesses.
That's not
0.
okay.
The prosecution rested, and then the defense immediately rested, and everybody's like, you don't have to do that. Do you know the rules? Are you sure?
I'm not trying to be ridiculous, but you've seen My Cousin Vinny. That's what he tried to do at one time.
Yeah, that doesn't always work out. So the defense attorneys were bad. So, of course, I start thinking, is that enough for an appeal of having bad representation? But you would have to show that they ignored or left things out that would have changed the tide or changed the minds of the jurors. I don't know that that's out there, but I don't think they did anything but make Kouri look even worse.
Well, and I mean, all of these cases will eventually go through appeal, and I would imagine that could be one of the things that they try to use. I don't think that was her only attorney. I think that she had an attorney that basically said, I can't continue down this relationship with you professionally. So they left, and then she had to pick up new attorneys. I just wonder if I'm representing someone and I don't put them on the stand to defend themselves, it's probably because I think they can't, or they'll make themselves look worse than they already do.
And that's why most people accused of murder don't, because the prosecution's going to trick them into saying some stuff. So I get Kouri not testifying, but not calling anybody? Come on.
I mean, if I'm defending her, I'm calling up the housemaid or the housekeeper, because allegedly she sold drugs to Kouri, or to Eric, rather. So, I mean, I would try to get as much reasonable doubt into the jury as I possibly could. So maybe this wasn't Kouri. This was an accidental overdose because he actually was using drugs. Anyway, the jury were the ones who had to make this decision, and they deliberated for only 3 hours. And when the judge read the verdict, Kouri stared at the floor and took some deep breaths. She was found guilty of murdering her husband. She was also found guilty of attempted murder for the Valentine's Day incident and of forgery and fraudulently claiming insurance benefits. So she faces up to 25 years to life in prison. And the judge is in charge of sentencing, and they will review a probation report, hear from the lawyers, and also have the victim impact statements read before determining her sentence. Sentencing is scheduled for May 13th, 2026. Ironically, that's also the day that Eric would have turned 44 years old.
Again, he died when he was 39. So it's a young man with young kids, 5, 7, and 9. They, at this point, would be 10, 12, and 14. And they're, I don't know what their exposure to this trial has been or what their relationship with their mother is like, but they lost both their parents that day.
Yep.
And that seemed to be something that she was not considering. And I think her writing the book was just a complete overcompensation. Why would I write a book about it if I did it? Or book about him if I did this? And it just makes
a great question.
That much more sad. Yeah, like why? Why? Yeah. Was it, I mean, based on what we see from her here, it may have been for the money,
Yeah, and Eric had a sister that took the stand in like a preliminary trial and basically said as much, that she was not writing this for her, she was basically exploiting Eric's kids to try to get money. So it wasn't this nice thing to do to help her and her children grieve. It was, let me take advantage of this situation.
And she knew by the time this came out a year after his death, she knew within 2 months that he had died due to some type of foul play. So she did all of this knowing she was a suspect in his murder. It wasn't like they approached her after and was like, oh yeah, we think you did this. Like, she knew she was under investigation.
Well, and if she actually did it, she knew that she murdered her husband just so she could run off with her handyman and get bukus of money.
Well, the jury said she did it, so I think we can say I think she did it.
Honestly, I do think she did it. I would have loved, like you said, I would love to see the Moscow Mule cup that was tested to show fentanyl in it, or trace amounts of fentanyl on her hands, some kind of really solid forensic evidence that lets me know that she administered this to him. I got to be honest, I think she did it, but could I cast a guilty verdict? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. And that's, I don't know. I don't ever want to be, I've joked about it. Like, I would love to be on like maybe some kind of fun trial, like on Jury Duty, with the Pauly Shore movie, but I don't know. That actually was awful if you think about it. Anyway, I would like to be on a jury for something less serious, and I would not want to have this fate resting in my hands.
Well, they never tested the cup. They didn't know they needed to. They didn't treat this as a crime scene because it looked like he had a heart attack or a brain aneurysm. So that cup had been washed probably multiple times, probably destroyed if I'm Kouri, not Carrie, if I'm Kouri by that point. So, man, I am with you, though. Like, there's no physical evidence tying her to it. But I think most trials, unfortunately, come down to the jury deciding who won. Like, you did better than them, guilty. You didn't, innocent.
Yep.
Which it's supposed to be beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, and I think if the defense could have just been slightly above competent, then they may have cast a different vote, honestly.
They were slightly below terrible, I'll tell you that. Did love the judge. I would, somebody get my man a show. I liked him a lot. I'll watch him every day. I don't know his name. I'm going to call him Jordy just so we can have Judge Judy and Judge Jordy.
I didn't watch any of it, but I'm going to have to take a peek into that now because of that comment.
Yeah, you should. He really is great. But these kids, again, lost both their parents that day, and it's been it's been a long road to get to this verdict and a lot of hiccups along the way, but Kouri did not do anything to help herself throughout this investigation. I am going to assume she is going to get the maximum sentence, but we will update you when that happens.
I'm assuming this will be a case that we will have to give updates on as, of course, the sentencing, but then appeals. And will there ever be a retrial or a mistrial because of the inadequacies of the defense? So if there are big updates, we will keep you posted over on Patreon. Again, just $3 a month gets you access. That's where every month you get case updates, a bonus episode, and early ad-free content.
Absolutely. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us through this one. It's one that I've kind of been anxious to talk about. So glad we finally got a verdict so we could do that. And would love to hear your thoughts. If you disagree with us, if you think she is innocent, or if you bought the book. But another thanks to Jules for reading the book for us as part of the episode. So hope you all enjoyed that as well.
Guys, we appreciate it. We love you. And until next crime, this has been True Crimecast.
You've listened to True Crimecast, distributed by Stoveleg Media. Check out stoveleg.com to find out more about your hosts and to find other podcasts to listen to. Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.